1% of dudes rapping, they ain't nice as me. 98% ain't live the same type of life as me. The judge gave me life and then they sent me where the life is be. That level 4 with depth and vice, the type of stuff they like to see. Two choices, fight or flee. I refuse to die a chump. I never been a mark, but damn, it's scary when that riot jump. I seen dudes cry, get pumped, and some sexually brutalized. Knew a dude who lost his life and he was only doing 5 year-long racial fights when homie all you do is ride. Lonely days and nights up in a hole causing suicide. From the moment you arrive, you see the Mexican mafia, AB skinheads with big giant swastikas, pro-black philosophers, the BGF, the Kumi, and Muslims who will murk you from the nation to the Sunni. That MS was loony, quick to ride up on they rival. Even Christians went to church, hide knives up in a Bible. Political and tribal, the Crips and Damus, the Long Beach, the Hubs and the Dubs and the Grooves, the IE, the Bakersfield, the Dago Pyrus, the Hustlers quick to roll, the gangsters don't move. Whatever.
Say what's cracking, YouTube? It's your boy 16 to life, and I'm back like I'm on a parole violation. You're down. For those of y'all that tuned to my page, in 1994, I got arrested. I was eventually sentenced to 16 years plus life, and I served 24 years straight in the California prison system. Yeah, that was me gassing right there on that intro. And if you want to get that song, it is available only by purchase directly from me on a 10-song EP that you can get on digital download. If you're interested, Cashapp, PayPal, or Zelle me $20. Hit me up on my email, 16tolifemusic@gmail.com, and I'm gonna get it to you ASAP, man. So today we hopping into a story right here, and I'm gonna do a reaction to the homie Damian Porter, man. In my opinion, right now he's got the best California prison stories going on right now, man. So tap in with his page, Inside Story Damian Porter, man. So anyway, let's get into this video.
Welcome to another episode, everyone. And in Corcoran State Prison, the Samoans and the whites got into it. Now, this is really the first time and really the last time that I can remember, I would have to think about it, that the Samoans, 3 huge Samoans, attacked a different race, where the Samoans initiated a melee or a riot.
Now, for anybody out there wondering, the Samoans in the California prison system, they function with the other car. You know, in the other car, you'll find Asians, Cambodians, Filipinos, Vietnamese, Tongans, things of that nature. So just in case you was wondering.
It doesn't happen often. Now, the Samoans do put in work. They have their own car, and they will take your head off. Mostly everyone I ran into was a huge human being. And they're not cowards, they're not scary. They have a car right there in prison, and they will defend and support and take care of their car like every other car there in prison. And again, in Corcoran State Prison, I must remind you that the environment was volatile. The COs are unaliving inmates. So things are kicking off there constantly. The COs are allowing things to happen. They're setting up fights and then betting on the fight. So you can imagine on the yard, they're letting all sort of stuff fly, all sorts of stuff go on. Melees, stabbings, beatings. You can do it there in Corcoran at that time and get away with it because, again, even the police had blood on their hands. They were dirty. So with this in mind, and everyone in Corcoran knowing that they can do things and get away with it, the violence began to ratchet up amongst one another. And Samoans, I'd never really heard them utter a racist word. I wasn't sure if they had any racism in them, who their enemy exactly was. But this one particular Samoan, let's call him Hogan, was on the yard, and he was the biggest of the 3 or 4 Samoans that were on the yard.
Now, a lot of times in my experience, the Samoans that I ran across were extremely cool. No question of a doubt, definitely with the business. And a lot of them were raised up with or around blacks in the black community. So we always had good rapport with the Samoans, you know. And like I said, man, or like Damian said, they were always extremely big.
He was clearly as well their leader. He was sort of young, maybe 27, 28 years old. And he was the most quiet as well. When they would be walking around on the track and the Samoans would stop and speak to blacks, that are over here and the blacks that are over there, dude never really said too much. I mean, he'd just wave his head, like shake his head, what's up? And that was it. Always had a tank top on and would always be out there working out. But whenever he did walk the track or come into a black setting, a black group, he kept his mouth closed. And the other Samoans would be over there popping and chilling with the blacks or whatever. So I automatically knew that dude, he wasn't a loudmouth and he wasn't to be messed with, because for the most part, if you're minding your business there in prison and you're quiet, these are the individuals that one must always watch out for. And that was him. But then one time I did hear him say that he did not like this particular white that was passing by on the track. Dude was an Aryan Brotherhood, this particular white. And I don't know if they had dealings or words before or not. I'm not sure why he had animus towards this white dude. I don't know. I had not been on the yard that long. They had been on the yard before me, so I don't know their history. But for whatever reason, he turned his nose up and said, man, I don't like that dude. Really, probably the first time I had even ever heard him speak. And when he did finally speak, it was really in a violent tone, really speaking about someone that had just irked him. So I didn't inquire much. I'd let them go on. Now, the thing on the yard at this time was, do the blacks have the Samoans back? Should they get into it with another race? Are we here to support them? Or, they Crips? Or they ride with the black car or what? So this sort of thing is really up in the air because you just never really know in some of these situations. One day there in the chow hall, we walked the chow in Corcoran. Sometimes it will be dark out for dinner. You can walk and it's dark outside. We get the chow and a huge Samoan, Hogan, is in there. And he's in the line, and so is this particular white that he does not like. And when they go to sit down, Hogan was about to sit down at the seat in the chow hall, and the white rushed in front of him and took the seat. Now, there was another white there at the table, and most of the time, everyone in prison, you want to sit with your own people. When you lined up, you line up with your own faction, so that when you're seated with your own faction.
And the reason that happens a lot of time is, of course, in prison, it's a spontaneous environment where violence can, break out at the drop of a hat. So you always want to associate yourself and be with whatever faction you run with in the event that something does break out. Of course, we all know that there's safety in numbers, because when something breaks out in prison, in the California prison system, it's 9 times out of 10, if it is going to be between different races, something may jump off right then and there. And so that's the reason that you like to be with your faction. In the event something jumps off, you can get cracking.
But sometimes it may run out of a seat there at the table, and you have to go to the next table, and there's somebody else from other factions there. You're black, and you got to go over there and sit with the Woods or what have you. So it's a white there at the table, and the white dude just decided that he was going to take Hogan's seat and sit there because it's his people there at the table. It's like, you go over there, your people over there, my people right here, I'm finna sit right here. But that's not how it goes. If it's your seat, it's your seat. And then you can say, oh, you go ahead and sit there. I'm going to go over here with my people. It's your people right here. You go ahead and sit there. But Hogan may have wanted to sit there. You can't just take his seat. You can't just tell him to go to another seat. He has to offer that to you. It's his seat. Okay.
Yeah, because most California prisons, they have a setting somewhat similar to a cafeteria. And it has the little railing there, and we all come in single file. And so as you go past the little window and you collect your tray, then they have a seating area. And most, I've been at a prison or two where they'll let you just go sit wherever you want to sit. But the majority of prisons that I have been in, you have to just fill in the next seat. And so that's what he's saying, as, if 5 or 6 people is in a line, you can't just hop out and go sit where you want to sit. You have to sit at the next table.
According to everyone there, according to witnesses, Hogan tried to sit down at the seat, and the Wood rushed over there before he can sit down and sat down, like right in front of him, basically bumped him out the way and sat down. So Hogan tells him, Hey, bro, I'm finna sit right there. I'm about to sit right there. I know you saw me about to sit right there. Now, bear in mind, these are the two that don't get along anyway, or at least Hogan has some sort of ire for this individual for whatever reason. So with this in mind, Hogan is confronting him already having animosity towards this individual. And now he really is taking umbrage to his move of taking his seat. It doesn't take much in prison to feel disrespected. If you are disrespected, I've told you the number one rule in prison is to respect everyone. If you are disrespected for any reason, if you feel disrespected for any reason, you are going to take care of business. You have no alternative.
And that's a great point that he made. So let me just give you guys a quick scenario pertaining to this situation. Now, when these dudes are jockeying for this seat or whatever, and when the Samoan says whatever he says to the white dude, keep in mind you have a lot of individuals who are in close proximity and earshot of what's going on. And a lot of times you have people in prison who are very respectful and very diplomatic. And if that conversation doesn't go that way, if the white dude says something that the Samoan dude feels is disrespect, now you've got all these people looking. So the situation is now magnified because everybody in there is working with a complex, right? Nobody wants to be seen or viewed as weak. And so if this white guy says something that the Samoan doesn't like, it's going to get ugly.
So the Wood says, man, it's my people right here. You can go sit over there. Hogan like, all right, bro, all right, bet. All right, whatever. It's all good. And Hogan went over there and sat down. So everybody in chow hall just looking like, okay, it's all good. No big thing. Because they had stood up and argued for a minute sort of thing. Or at least Hogan was standing up. But he just went on and took his seat. But when they released the chow hall and we come out, you hear the alarm go off. Hey, get down, get down. We looking, there's some people up front fighting. It's dark outside. But up ahead, you can see commotion. And the police finally running towards that area. Hogan, as we walking closer, we can see Hogan got the white guy and he's slamming him. He's picking him up and slamming him like a rag doll. This dude is humongous. He waited to leave the chow hall out of respect for everyone that's in the chow hall. You don't want the police coming there spraying mace and you in the chow hall, everybody right there with their food, blood all over the place, people right there trying to eat because you in there stabbing someone or whatever. So oftentimes people will try to wait until they leave the chow hall. But of course, as I've said, things kick off in the chow hall, right there in the chow hall. But sometimes, if people have the presence of mind, they say, I'll take care of this shit as soon as we leave the chow hall. So obviously, I'm assuming that's what Hogan was thinking, because when we left the chow hall, he caught up with the Wood and took off on him and was slamming his head down. All right. So they took them out of there. But now the word going around the yard, well, what's next? What's going to happen now? There are not that many whites on the yard either. There's just a few Samoans, but it's not that many whites. Now, the Samoans just lost their leader, their biggest one, their biggest hitter. The one that has the most respect on the yard. He just left because he got into it with the white. So now their numbers are even less. It's just a few of them. It's 2 or 3 left on the yard. And it's still whatever, 12, 13, 15 whites. So it's just the same as when I told y'all, really, that the Indians and the whites had got into it right there in Corcoran. And the blacks got involved and helped the Indians. So it's just a matter of if it's about to go up because Hogan got this white guy and slammed his head and bust his head open. Are the whites about to retaliate, respond, and attack the Samoans? If so, it's only 2 or 3 of them on the yard. What are the blacks going to do? So the Samoans came to the brothers and said this very thing. They said, in fact, we're going to attack the whites. We're not going to wait on them to attack us. We know that they're coming because of what our people just did to their people. Slammed his head. Even though their people was wrong sitting in his seat and all that, the only thing they're going to understand is the outcome, which is that their people got his head slammed and got off the yard. So,
and see, in that situation, even though that situation was a one-on-one situation, and some people may have viewed it as the white dude was wrong, at the end of the day, the whites are going to feel that prison protocol was violated. They're going to feel that the Samoan dudes were supposed to come talk to them about the situation, and then depending on what was said, then the white dudes would have come up with a punishment if they felt one was necessary and worthy, and then handed out that punishment to the white dude. But of course, since there was no harsh words, they obviously would have felt that the white dude done nothing wrong, and that anything, he may have just got a verbal little warning, hey man, next time don't be disrespectful. But the Samoans, already knowing that they have violated that protocol, decide to take off first. Don't sit back and wait for the white dudes to rush us, because we know that our homie just got on their homie. So that's what they're doing. Basically, they're going to just, get cracking first.
Chances are they're going to want to attack and retaliate. We can handle it. We're not worried. This is what the Samoans are telling the brothers, but we're just wondering, if some other people jump in, another race jump in, if all 13 wolves try to get 2 of us, what's the situation then? And so the brothers congregated amongst themselves and said that they had the Samoans back. That don't worry, no one's going to pack y'all out. We ain't going to let a 5-on-1 or even a 2-on-1. None of that. You know what I'm saying? So it's best then that y'all attack them first, instead of waiting on all 12 or 13 of them to attack y'all and then leaving the brothers to where they have to react. If y'all going to offensive, catch a few of them, then it's good. And that's what they did. They said, okay, we're going to attack them first in Morning Yard. Okay, cool. The Samoans came out at Morning Yard, boots on, laced up. Now, the Samoans that were left were also some huge individuals. These were some big dudes. It's just that dude that had left at first was the biggest of them all. But all of these dudes are huge. So they wasn't really worried. The whites that are on the yard, they had a couple that had a little size or whatever, was working out. But for the most part, they were no match for the Samoans, even though it's just 2 or 3 of them. So they came out in unison, obviously had some sort of planned attack. 2 of them are walking around the track, like another one is going towards the middle of the yard where the whites are at. But all the whites are not out. Some of them are at work. This is probably part of their plan to wait till some of the whites were at work or whatever. So they had to go up against 10, 11, 12 of them. And maybe 6 whites on the yard, 7. And the Samoans just attacked. They didn't have any weapons. They just started swinging. They probably felt like they didn't need any weapons. This is a level 3 yard. Not a lot of stabbings going down, although there are some stabbings. But they just attacked. And it was about 4 woods at the time on 3 Samoans. But the Samoans, they was taking care of business. Like they had dropped 1 wood, but the woods was squabbling, bro. They didn't run. They was right there fighting. And even though these Samoans were huge, the woods were right there fighting them, and they yelling, get down. They didn't hit the alarm. The police are running to the yard where the incident is transpiring at, but these dudes are still going. The Samoans wouldn't get down. One Samoan did pick up a wood, throw him in a chokehold, and slammed him down to the ground. These dudes are humongous. They picking them up and throwing them around and knocking them down to the ground. But
now, I mean no disrespect whatsoever when I say this. The white individuals in prison are definitely not your average white dude that you run across on the street, or especially at least not in my era. The white dudes in prison, they're used to violence, and they will get violent. Often they're not large in numbers, right? So they definitely have to be with the business and violence. And to me, my eyes were woken up to the character of them when we got into a riot in Ironwood. And up until that point, I had never seen white dudes be the initiator of violence when it came to black individuals, man. But they didn't have no problem, rushing the black dudes. So they initiated and kicked off that riot. So yeah, they definitely handled their business as well.
Whites are not backing down. Even when the police is running in, rushing in, saying, get down, spraying mace and this and that, the whites, indignant that these dudes didn't attack them, they're responding and they won't get down. They had a couple of Aryan Brotherhoods there that were some strong individuals, and they stood up for themselves. But the Samoans, they felt like the whites were going to attack them, so they decided to attack first after old Hogan, the huge Samoan, attacked the white outside of the chow hall. They had the melee. The police finally got control, cuffed everyone up, and took them out. And that was the end of it. That's really the only time. And no blacks got involved. It was about 4 whites, but the blacks didn't get involved. They didn't feel like they had to get involved. They didn't feel like they let it be known that if the Samoans needed their support, they would help them. If too many of the Woods tried to get them and all that, the blacks were going to get involved. That was clear. But the Samoans, truthfully, they didn't need anybody's help. They didn't need the blacks' help. Just them 3 were taking care of business. Now, I'm not saying they just crashed the Woods. The Woods fought back and they conducted themselves accordingly, appropriately. I have nothing bad to say about them in that situation. It's just that the Samoans were so big that the whites didn't really have a chance. Huge. The Usos. The Uso power. Something to be reckoned with. Stay free, people.
So that once again was another good story from the brother Damian Porter. You guys be sure to go tap in, subscribe to his channel, The Inside Story with Damian Porter. You already know what it is. It's your boy 16 to life. Resume normal program.